Love doesn't feel like a philosophical problem while you're inside it. It feels like a verdict, like gravity, like the one thing that finally makes the world make sense. And then, without warning, it can flip and become the very thing that makes the world unbearable. So here's the question that matters. When you say, "I'm in love," are you describing a deep truth, or just the most convincing story your instincts can tell? Stay with me, because Nietzsche had a brutal, illuminating way of talking about love, one that doesn't flatter us, but might save us from confusing intensity with meaning. And by the end of this, you'll understand why love can feel like destiny, why it can feel like slavery, and how Nietzsche would challenge you to love without losing yourself. Before we begin, a quick favor that genuinely helps keep this channel alive. Subscribe, hit like, and leave a comment. It helps the algorithm, and it helps these philosophical stories keep growing. All right, let's go. No fluff. What did Nietzsche say about the feeling of love? Nietzsche didn't write a single neat theory of love the way a textbook might. He was allergic to neatness. He wrote like someone trying to wake you up. So to understand his view, you have to track the pattern of how he treats love across his work, as a force, a symptom, a strategy, and sometimes a disguise. And the first thing Nietzsche would do, before he explains love, is he would suspect it. Not because love is fake, but because the feeling of love is one of the most effective masks human beings can wear. Love can hide fear. Love can hide hunger for power. Love can hide loneliness. Love can hide resentment. Love can hide the desire to possess, the desire to be possessed, the desire to be rescued, the desire to escape oneself. Nietzsche's core move is this. He asks what a feeling is doing, not what it claims to be. Because for Nietzsche, we are not transparent to ourselves. We're not honest narrators. We're more like clever lawyers defending the most ancient parts of us, our instincts after the fact. We feel something first, and then we invent a beautiful explanation for it. That's how we survive. That's how we protect our pride. That's how we keep calling ourselves good. So when someone says, "I love you," Nietzsche might quietly ask, "What does your love want?" That sounds cold, but it's not cynical. It's diagnostic. It's the beginning of freedom. Now, here's one of Nietzsche's sharpest insights about love. Love often behaves like a form of will, not willpower. Will in the deeper sense, an impulse that wants to shape the world. Nietzsche talks about the will to power, and people misunderstand it as wanting dominance. That's too narrow. For Nietzsche, will to power is the fundamental drive to expand, to intensify, to overcome resistance, to imprint a form on chaos, to become more than you were. Love, in that sense, can be will to power wearing perfume, because the feeling of love can be an attempt to expand yourself through another person, to fuse, to grow, to become more, to feel alive, to feel chosen, to feel that you matter. And yes, this can be beautiful. But Nietzsche is warning you, the same mechanism that creates beauty can also create bondage, because love easily slips into a quiet demand. Become the person who makes me feel whole. When that happens, love isn't a gift. It's a contract written in invisible ink. Now think about how people talk about love in everyday life. We call it falling. We talk about being swept away. We talk about losing control. We romanticize the collapse of boundaries. We praise love when it overwhelms us. Nietzsche would say, "Notice how often we praise love when it weakens our agency." And he would ask, why would you celebrate anything that reduces your capacity to choose? Nietzsche's philosophy, at its deepest level, is about life affirmation, not self-erasure. It's about becoming more fully yourself, not dissolving into a comforting story. So if love makes you smaller, if it turns you into a person who performs, pleases, begs, panics, and trades self-respect for proximity, Nietzsche would not call that true love. He would call it a form of need disguised as holiness, but that's not the whole picture. Nietzsche isn't anti-love, he's anti-illusion. He attacks the idea that love is pure, selfless, and morally superior by default, because he suspects that selflessness is often a clever way of controlling people while pretending you're innocent. This is where Nietzsche's view becomes uncomfortable and incredibly useful. He would say, sometimes what we call love is actually possessiveness with good branding. Think of the phrase, "I can't live without you." In movies, that's romantic. Nietzsche would hear it as a threat with a smile. Because I can't live without you secretly says, you are now responsible for my existence. And once someone carries your existence, you've handed them a weapon, whether they want it or not. So what would Nietzsche say about the feeling of love? He would say, love is often a battlefield of instincts where we pretend we're angels. That doesn't mean love is bad. It means love is powerful, and anything powerful deserves honesty. Now here's a deeper twist. Nietzsche was obsessed with the difference between love that comes from fullness and love that comes from lack. This is crucial. Love from lack is desperate. It clings. It demands. It asks the other person to fill a hole that you refuse to face alone. Love from fullness is different. It's not begging for completion. It's sharing overflow. It says, I have life in me, and I want to give it a direction with you, not use you as a life support machine. If you want a Nietzschean test for your love, it might be this. Does love make you stronger? Not louder, not more dramatic, stronger, more honest, more disciplined, more courageous, more capable of solitude, more capable of creating, more able to respect yourself even when the other person is not looking. Because Nietzsche's ideal human being is not someone who is nice. It's someone who is integrated, someone whose desires are not at war with their values, someone who doesn't need to lie to themselves to survive. Now let's talk about jealousy, because Nietzsche would never skip it. Jealousy is often presented as proof of love. I'm jealous because I care. Nietzsche would reply, you're jealous because you're afraid of losing what you've confused with your worth. Jealousy is love mixed with insecurity and ownership. It's the fear that the other person's freedom will expose your dependence, and dependence is the hidden engine of a lot of romantic suffering. Nietzsche had no patience for dependence that pretends to be virtue. He would say, love that demands chains isn't love, it's fear looking for guarantees. But Nietzsche isn't telling you to become detached or cold. He's asking you to love with clear eyes. Which brings us to one of the most Nietzschean ideas you can apply to love, the question of affirmation. Nietzsche wanted you to become the kind of person who can say yes to life, not just when it's pleasant, but when it's hard. He asked, can you affirm your life as it is without wishing it had been different? That's the spirit behind his thought experiment of eternal recurrence. If you had to live your life again and again, would you embrace it or collapse? Now apply that to love. If love is merely a drug, you want it to stay the same forever. You want the high, you want the comfort, you want the security. But if love is a form of life affirmation, you don't ask it to keep you safe. You ask it to make you real. And reality is not always comfortable. So Nietzsche might say, the highest form of love is not the love that protects you from suffering. It's the love that makes you worthy of suffering, not by glorifying pain, but by giving pain meaning through growth. Now, let's address a common misunderstanding, that Nietzsche's view makes love selfish. Nietzsche would say, selfless love is often not selfless at all. It just hides its self-interest better. He would prefer an honest, I want you to a dishonest, I need nothing, because the honest, I want you can still respect the other person's freedom. It can be chosen daily. The dishonest, I need nothing, often turns into, and therefore you owe me because I sacrificed. This is why Nietzsche is so harsh about moralizing emotions. Moral language can become a tool for manipulation. So what did Nietzsche say about the feeling of love? He said, in essence, don't worship it, understand it. And if you understand it, you can transform it. You can take love from being a blind storm and turn it into a conscious force. And that leads to the most important Nietzschean question in romance. Are you using love to escape yourself or to become yourself? Because one kind of love feels like relief. The other kind of love feels like a challenge. One kind of love sedates you. The other kind of love awakens you. Now let's make it personal, because philosophy is useless if it can't touch your real life. If you're in love right now, ask yourself, when I say, I love this person, what am I actually loving? Am I loving who they are or who I become around them? Am I loving the truth of them or the fantasy I'm projecting? Am I drawn to them because they expand my life or because they quiet my anxiety? And here's a tough one Nietzsche would absolutely insist on. If they stop choosing me tomorrow, would I still be myself? Because if the answer is no, you're not in love. You're in dependence. And dependence can be intense, but intensity isn't depth. Nietzsche would not want you to stop loving. He would want you to stop lying to yourself and to the person you claim to love, because love that is built on lies, especially the lies you tell yourself, will eventually become resentment. And resentment is one of Nietzsche's biggest enemies. Resentment, the slow poison of feeling powerless and then turning that powerlessness into moral superiority. In relationships, resentment looks like, after all I did for you. Nietzsche would rather see you walk away than become that person. Now let's land this. If Nietzsche could give you one strange, paradoxical gift about love, it might be this. Love is not proven by how much you need someone. Love is proven by how much freedom you can tolerate. If you can love without needing to possess, without needing to control, without needing the other person to carry your identity, then love becomes something rare, not a cage. A partnership between two forces that choose each other without surrendering their own becoming. And now I want to hear from you. Do you think love should feel like safety, or should it feel like growth? Drop your answer in the comments and tell me why. I read them, and it shapes what we explore next in the Paradox Garden. And if this helped you see love differently, subscribe, hit like, and leave a comment. It helps a lot, and it keeps this channel alive.